is brought to you by Jig Masters. Step up your game with high-quality performance jigs, spinner baits, buzz baits, and more from jigmasters.com. And always, when in doubt, get the jig out.
Welcome to the Bass Kayak and Beers podcast on the Paddle and Fin Network. On this podcast, we'll be talking about life and kayak fishing. Every week, we'll have a special guest, whether it's a tournament angler, a content creator, or just a regular guy or girl who just loves to go kayak fishing. So grab a cold beer, sit back, and enjoy the show. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Bass Kayak and Beers podcast on the Paddle and Fin Network. We're going live for my podcast for the first time. So, full disclosure, I'm nervous as heck here. So, I got Dan Perry, my confidence man, my wingman, to guide me through this in case I have a brain fart, which I guarantee you is going to happen. How you doing, Dan?
Good, man. Thanks for having me on. Glad I could be here for your first live show. It's easy, man. I mean, if you mess up, you just hit end broadcast and then pull the plug, I guess. I don't know.
Well, the good thing is I have you running all the technical stuff. So if I screw up, I just say, you know what? It's this Dan. He's an idiot. Doesn't know what he's doing. Nah,
absolutely. Blame it on me. I am easy to blame. Do it.
I forgot to tell you on my podcast, you have to wear a Cubs hat, not a Sox hat. But we'll let it go this time, just because
I'm going
me out. So, man, we got the first place and second place winners from the, let me make sure I get this right, North Texas Kayak Championship at Fairfield. It was over the weekend. I think Timothy Rodman got first place and Silas Garrett got second place. We're going to bring him on. We're going to talk about their big win at Fairfield, or their big showing at Fairfield, and what worked for them, how they got to where they got, and all that good stuff. So if you guys have any questions, for those of you watching live, if you have any questions, put in the comments right there. We'll try to scroll through them and add them to all the questions we have. So let's bring in our special guests. First of all, Tim Rodman and Silas Garrett. Gentlemen, how are you guys doing today?
Doing pretty good, man. Just excited.
Doing well. How are y'all?
Good.
Great, man. Excited to bring you guys in. Again, this is the first time we're going live. I really wanted to, since I'm from Texas, and I think there's a lot of great anglers in Texas that don't have the opportunity to travel as much, do a lot of the national events. Kind of wanted to, especially this season, bring attention to some of the local tourists, because I know there's great hammers out there that people don't know about that should get some recognition, and Silas and Raman, you definitely qualify for that category. So thank you again for coming to the show, and let's talk a little bit about your big win at Fairfield. First of all, Timothy, let's start with you. What areas did you start fishing on Fairfield?
Oh, going straight for it, to the heart.
Oh, you know what? You're right. Again, this is my first time doing it. You know what? Let's do this.
No,
you're right.
I like it. Oh, he gone.
Oh, Tim is gone?
He said, "Man, I ain't giving up that spot. I'm out of here."
Okay,
we'll start. Too much information on him. Yeah.
No, he was lagging a little bit. He'll be back in a second. It's all right.
Well, Silas, let's start with you then. Tell us a little bit about yourself, though. Tell us a little bit about yourself for those that don't know you, and what you do, when you're not fishing, and how you got into kayak fishing.
Yeah, cool. So I guess I work for a body shop here in Bryan, Texas. Kind of been in the paint body industry for about 10 years or so, maybe a little bit longer. Got into kayak fishing about 3 years ago. I mean, kind of just like everybody else, I was addicted like almost immediately. I kind of just dove straight in and tried to fish as many tournaments as I could, just to kind of, I felt like it was a good way to learn. I mean, yeah, you're spending money, but you're learning all these techniques that other people are doing to win. And I feel like it really paid off for me in about 3 years, so.
That was quick.
But awesome. I guess another thing, we also have, me and Tim actually have a battery company. So we're building custom lithium batteries for everybody. And kind of started donating some packs to TKC as well as the Southeast Texas Trail.
Dang, man, shout out your company. What?
Heck yeah, it's called Volta Lithium. You can look it up on Facebook, and we also have a website.
There you go.
Nice, man. Well, congratulations on that. So how's it felt to fishing at Fairfield? How did you feel about your second place?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was kind of clear. You know, me and Tim are good friends. Like I said, we fish that lake kind of all the time. So there's a good rivalry between us. So, you know, I was a little bummed to lose to him, but also, you know, super excited that he was able to win. But yeah, Fairfield's one of my favorite lakes. I think a lot of guys kind of know that at this point after some good showings in the KBBT trail. Pretty much was all out there the whole time, but yeah.
Yeah, you made a name for yourself on the KBBB trail as far as locally. I heard your name a lot coming up at the KBBB trail. I know some of the local anglers really know who you are and you know what, like, you know, that you're not even though you may not be known nationally in Texas, a lot of people got a lot of respect for your game and what you've done out there. So Tim is probably trying to get on. So while we wait for Tim, let's go ahead and start with you, Silas. What areas of Fairfield did you fish? What did you started off and what drew you to that area, and why do you think that area produced the bites that you were looking for?
Yeah, I mean, to start off, you know, we had that big freeze just a couple of weeks ago, and then we had all this warm weather all of a sudden. So I kind of went with one game plan, and that's that I was going to find just shallow grass because I knew that it would warm up a little bit quicker than everything else. I didn't necessarily think that they were spawning or anything of that nature, but I just thought that some of the bigger fish were just going to be moving up. And yeah, so I just found a shallow pocket. I went pretty much in the very back of it and started chunking around a jackhammer, and sure enough, got bit pretty quickly. I mean, it was only about 20 minutes into the tournament, had already hooked up with like a 20 and a half.
Nice.
But yeah, just kept on fishing that area. You know, I changed up some baits a little bit and was able to draw out a couple more strikes. Like I threw a Cinco a little bit later on and caught a 21, and that was kind of like in the thicker grass. But yeah, I just kept on working the shallow water. It was kind of like I would say like a football field size area that the fish were actually in. And then, you know, later on in the day, I don't know why I decided to leave. Wind started blowing real bad. So I was like, you know, I don't know. I just watched the Skeet Reese video, and it was talking about how he had won this tournament, like fishing this windy point with swim bait. So I like had this idea in my head. Okay, I'm going to go out here to this windy point and just like kill him. Well, no, I went out there, pretty much wasted like 3 or 4 hours, and eventually made my way back to that pocket where Tim was actually still there and just wrecking shop on him.
Do you mind giving up your color, or are you one of them fire crawl people? Or
no. I was throwing a black and blue jackhammer, and I had a green pumpkin trailer.
And was the water a little muddy? Is that why you went with black and blue, or is that your color?
I feel like whenever the water, for me, it's like more about the water temperature. Sometimes the color too, but yeah, I feel like in the winter months, early spring, black and blue kind of just does the trick. Also, you know, I know at that lake particularly, you know, they're feeding on bluegill. So anything that darker color, green pumpkin probably would have worked just the same. But yeah, that black and blue kind of gives that bigger profile too. So it seems to draw that bigger bite.
And can you kind of back up for a second, if you don't mind, Armando? Kind of for all the people that aren't in Texas, like, I mean, I used to live in Texas, but can you kind of explain Fairfield and how it sets up? Like, is it like everybody thinks of Texas, and especially North Texas? Is it kind of super, you know, rocky, not a whole lot of trees, you know, just that kind of, I guess, Amarillo, not much to it, not a lot of contour?
Yeah, I mean, it really is, just like you said, it's kind of a lake that doesn't have a lot of contour, but the banks do dive off pretty quickly. You know, you get 20, 30 foot away from the bank, you're probably sitting in 15 to 20 foot of water.
Okay.
Pretty quickly. You know, a lot of people don't fish like any type of ridges or no ledge fishing, any of that type of stuff. I mean, it is a grass lake, so there's plenty of that to fish. You know, during the summer, it has a 15-foot ring of grass, you know, thick matted grass all the way around the whole thing.
So like shoreline grass, not like
shoreline grass.
Deep like hydrilla, not like offshore grass.
I mean, there is like hydrilla offshore as well. Like it just kind of depends on the time of the year, but yeah. I mean, I found it in 10 foot of water for sure.
Okay, cool. Well, it sounds like a healthy lake at least.
Oh yeah, and I think we were talking earlier about, you know, how they turned off the power plant there, and I kind of really feel like that did the lake probably the best. I mean, I think the bait is able to thrive a little bit more, so they're just feeding up now.
And why was that? Was it like nuclear power or coal power?
Yeah, it was a coal power plant. I think they call it the Big Brown plant, but yeah,
dark power.
Yeah. I mean, you know, whenever you have that power plant, it seems like fish get really abundant. You know, we see it like on Fade all the time. There's a bunch of fish out there, but you hardly ever find a fish over like 22 inches. I mean, they're out there for sure, but the majority of big bass wins at Fade are like a 22-inch fish. Kind of the same thing as was about Fairfield, but now that they've turned off the plant, I feel like the fish are just getting bigger. You know, the ones that were there, maybe not as abundant as it once was, but the fish are bigger. So I guess it's a trade-off.
Cool. I'd never heard anybody say something like that before, so that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like we were talking about the pre-recording. Like when you look at the Texas Wildlife Park Department, it actually has it categorized as a poor lake for bass fishing. But I've heard a lot of the anglers say it's a great place for bass fishing. And I know Silas probably doesn't want me to say that, one of his favorite places. But it's interesting because one of the things they mentioned is because of the power plant that's not there anymore. That's one of the reasons why it's not so great. And the fact that they haven't stocked it in God knows when. But it's apparently from what a lot of the anglers are telling me, and I've never fished it, is including Dustin Nichols from the Chasing the Tide segment we have every other Sunday. It's his favorite lake, and I know he's pulled up giants out of that spot.
Yeah, it's like one of those give and take things. I mean, I think I think it's the same on any lake, but if you're on a good pattern and you can pattern something out, yeah, I mean, at Fairfield, a lot of times it takes 100 inches to win, but, you know, only a couple guys are going to get that. And, you know, maybe only a third of the field really catches a limit. So that kind of, you know, yeah, you have big fish, but they're not as abundant.
Yeah. So. I don't like, you know, we just had a tournament at my local club where you had same exact thing, like a third of the field caught fish, and then a couple of guys, one guy caught a 25, and that's awesome, but the other 2/3 of that field zeroed. And you know, it's that's no fear, that's no fun. Yeah.
So yeah, unless you just fish that lake all the time and you just know it. I mean, it's hard. I mean, I was actually kind of scared. There's two guys that I actually fear a lot at Fairfield because they're dangerous. I'll give them a little shout out, but it's Derek Miller and James Louvier. And man, those two guys, they get on Fairfield, and yeah, you better catch 100 inches or you're not going to win.
Casey said they couldn't turn that power plant on a couple of weeks ago.
Hey, you're right. I mean,
good point.
They should have.
Yeah.
Definitely would have needed. So let me ask you this, Silas. You mentioned the jackhammer, and obviously that's one of the top baits that a lot of people love, but also one of the top baits that kind of a lot of people hate because of the price point. What's your feeling about the jackhammer? Do you think it's worth every penny, or do you think it's overrated? How much do you like that jackhammer?
I pretty much sold. I throw it pretty much exclusively. You know, I guess to rewind, like back whenever I was a kid, the Z-Man chatterbait had like just came out. I didn't really fish a lot, but I'd go to ponds from time to time, and I swear I'd throw that bait and I'd be like just wrecking them, and my friends might only catch 1 or 2 fish. So I've kind of been I guess a Z-Man fanboy, if you will. So whenever they came out with a jackhammer, I mean, I was all for it. I will say that, as far as vibration and the feeling that you get from the bait, I mean, it starts the fastest. You rip it out of grass and it's already vibrating if it has a clean blade. I mean, they all have problems, but the jackhammer just seems to be my favorite.
I mean, it's hard to argue with success and how much money it's won. I mean, yeah. I mean, so many people in tournament anglers fish that one that I'm sure the ratio of tournament anglers that fish it is way offset. Like maybe it's hard to actually say, because that so many people fish that one, but yeah, you just can't argue its success. Are you graphite, composite, or straight fiberglass? Like not many people fish.
Yeah. I mean, for my chatterbait rod, I like a 7.6 medium heavy to a heavy. It kind of depends on time of year. Heavy in the winter, medium heavy like towards the summer and stuff. Also fishing on fluorocarbon. I don't think a lot of guys do, but I've lost so many fish fishing a heavy rod with braid on a jackhammer. They jump one time and throw it. That's kind of been my problem the last 2 years. I was like, no, I'm fixing this, finding the right action rod. So that way, whenever I get the bite, I can actually land the fish, because if you're not landing them, you're not going to win a tournament.
Is it a graphite rod or a composite?
It's graphite.
Graphite. Okay. So yeah, I mean, especially with graphite, fiberglass. I mean, especially with graphite, you would definitely need the fiberglass. I guess I could see with composite, maybe, a braid, you would have a little bit of give in the composite rod, but especially with graphite, you would definitely need,
Yeah, it's just a little bit too stiff. Yeah. Easy to throw. But
that's a little piece of information that I've and I'll actually go back to what I did on the tournament over the weekend. Not to take the attention right now from Silas, but I was listening to your podcast then, and I thought it was a gem when Russ Snyder and Jody Quinn were talking about what rods and what lines to use on a jackhammer. If anybody out there listening, go check out that one. What's that podcast? The one with Russ Snyder and Jody Quinn.
Yeah, it was a couple of weeks ago.
Was it? I know I listened to it a few weeks after, or like a couple of weeks after.
Yeah, it was.
But I listened it over the last week.
Yeah,
that listening to those two guys talk about the jackhammer and chatterbait. That anybody that's listening, you go check out that podcast. Because the information that was sent over there, then we got Tim Rodman joining us.
There he is.
Hey, got you back.
So, now you don't have X Zone behind you. Team X Zone, man.
I had to get closer to the main router. Apparently, I was having some issues.
Well, we got you back.
Sorry about that.
Before we go into Tim, just wanted to finish that thought. That conversation, and I thought both Ross and Jody Quinn hit it on the nail on the head. You go with a braid if you have a rod, like a medium rod or maybe a medium heavy. But if you have a heavy rod, you go with the fluorocarbon leader at least to give you that give. And that's a change that I've made since listening to that podcast. And it's only been a couple of weeks, but going straight fluor with my medium rod, I would lose like maybe 2 out of 5 bites on the chatterbait. And since then I can't even get the hook out of that thing. But and again, anybody that's listening, go check out that podcast. It's great information. Just listening to Ross and Jody Quinn talk about that is a piece of gem.
So anyways, Tim, you're gonna have to have some give somewhere. If you have a composite rod, you can use braid. If you're having a graphite rod, you can use fluorocarbon. Like, you have to have some give in there somewhere. or you're going to lose fish.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless you just got a beast winch and you're just hauling them in. I mean, that works with swim bait fishing, but it seems like chatterbaits, I mean, they just get away from you.
Yeah. So Tim, again, glad to have you on back. Let's go ahead with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Timothy. What you do other than fishing and what got you into kayak fishing.
I'm unfortunately a lawyer, so most people probably think I'm a terrible person. But yeah, I got into kayak fishing. I wasn't tournament fishing or anything. About 2011, I was down here in law school down by Houston, and I just met a guy. I was bank fishing. I met a guy.
Wait,
What's that?
Rice or what? University of Houston?
No, South Texas, the private school downtown.
Oh,
It's a fancy private school. Yeah, no, I just met a guy. He had a kayak. I was like, man, that's cool. And he was telling me about it. And my first one I think was that Lifetime Tamarack, like the 10-footer from one of the stores. And I started out fishing Sheldon on the kayak. Silas knows what that is. But yeah, it's just kind of how I got into it and got hooked ever since.
Well, what kind of kayaks are y'all in now?
Tim?
I got an old PA-12. Silas is mojoed up old PA-12, actually.
Oh, yeah. It has plenty of love in that kayak.
Yeah.
I'm in a 2020 PA-14 360.
Okay, big money. All right.
It was I turned 30 in October, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get what I want,
Doing well in the body shop game. I see what's going on.
Yes, sir.
Are you sure, Silas, you're not the lawyer then?
No.
Right? Well, I'm saying, man.
So like he's sending people from that like got in a collision. He's sending them your way over to Tim. Like giving people a card. Yeah. All right. Sorry.
Yeah.
Maybe we should do this.
So Tim, kind of catch you up with the conversation. Tell us a little bit about where you fished in Fairfield. What type of and I already know that you fished kind of with where Silas was, but tell us a little bit about area. Why did you choose to fish that area? What draw you to fish that area, and what do you think that area helped you land first place?
I'd say it was just a history thing. I mean, Silas probably said it too. Neither one of us really got to pre-fish. We were busy working, and we've had success launching at the South Ramp and just making circles, and we kind of just started on opposite ends. We just said, hey, he's gonna go here, I'm gonna go here, and we'll do what we can, and we just decided to basically start almost right across from each other, right? I mean, it was fairly close. Yeah, and we ended up meeting. During the morning, I had to use his hotspot so I could upload my fit. But yeah, we just made big circles, to be honest with you, and then worked out well for us. So
Silas, you had to give him your hotspot for him to upload the fish he just beat you on.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I didn't know he was actually going to beat me. If he'd have started with that, I probably would have ran the other direction and not let him catch up.
Oops, battery's gone. Sorry, it's not working.
Yeah, twice. Had to use it twice, man.
Yeah. At least I beat you on the first limit thing,
Yeah, crushed my dreams.
Yeah, he came over to me all excited, and he was like, "Yeah, hey, I need to submit my fish real quick for the first limit." And I was like, "Oh, I got 6 fish already."
Well, didn't you cut a deal or something? It's like, hey, I'll let you use the hotspot, but I'm going to charge you for kilobytes or per second, something like that, or get it out of the winnings, maybe.
Yeah, percentage of his winnings for sure. Yeah.
Don't give him ideas, man. I've had to use that a lot.
Yeah, he's a lawyer. He'd start bringing up contracts and stuff. So
yeah, you're gonna lose on that one, unfortunately. Better just let him have it.
Mm-hmm.
Dan, you got another question for Tim before we move on to the next to Silas?
No, I want to hear about the baits. What were you throwing about there? Silas was throwing a jackhammer. Is that where you were throwing to?
At first, yeah, I went out. Sorry, my voice is kind of gone on me. I went out at first thinking, "Oh man, it's gonna be a top water day." You know, it's real foggy and cloudy. The water was calm. I was like, "Oh man, the top water bite's just gonna be on fire." And then I didn't have a bite for like the first hour, and so I just kind of abandoned it and started throwing that jackhammer around and got a couple bites. Um, but then I saw Silas, and he's like, "Yeah." He's kind of throwing that too. I was like, okay, maybe I need to change this up a little bit. And, I just turned around the other direction with a frog and got a bite. And I just kind of ran with it, stuck with it most of the day. So
A frog, huh? What was the water temperature there?
Like 54.
Wow, 54-degree frog. All right, I like it. I'm
you can
usually
hear him though.
oh, could you? Oh, okay.
Mhm.
I'm usually like 55 is like, oh, I'm just waiting for it to see at 55. But yeah, I mean, if you can hear them, like I had a buddy here, it's still, low 50s, and he caught a couple the other day on a spook. So not to give anything away, but yeah, I mean, you can catch them on a spook even whenever it's not 55. So
Shoot, I threw it. I mean, probably for 30 minutes or so in the morning, maybe an hour. It's one of my favorite baits. I didn't get a sniff on a spook. I threw a frog too. Didn't get a sniff on that either. Yeah, chatterbait was just the thing. I mean, I think Tim couldn't even, like he was telling me, he couldn't even buy a bite on chatterbait later on in the day. And I mean, it was kind of weird just because I was catching them on him kind of all day. I mean, I went several hours without a bite, but whenever I was in the right area, they were biting it. And then, of course, he's catching them on a frog. So it just tells you that fishing is just about how you work your bait, I guess.
Yeah, it's totally.
So
as much research as we do, it's kind of unpredictable.
So since there isn't that much grass this time of the year, was it like a popping frog or just a regular frog?
It was just a regular old booyah pad crasher, just a normal size frog. I mean, I threw it in the morning. It's the weirdest thing. I threw it in the morning, and I didn't get a bite. And then I got a couple chatterbait fish, and I thought maybe I'd stick with that, and it just wasn't great for me. So I went, like I said, I just turned around and started fan casting a frog over a flat and got a bite, and just stuck with it and got another bite. So I just kind of stayed with it,
Was it dead mat flat, like a dead grass flat? Dead grass mats? Is that where you were throwing it up on? Or was it new good grass?
It wasn't new grass. I mean, there was scattered grass everywhere. I mean, Fairfield, you got deep spots, and then you got a lot of shallow flats and stuff you can go to. You can kind of pick your poison. And there was just a bunch of dead matted grass, here, there, and it was just spotted like that. But the crazy thing is, I couldn't catch them. I saw them schooling out in the middle and popping bait out of the top of the water, and I went over there and couldn't buy a bite on anything. It's the weirdest thing ever. I have no idea what was going on.
Yeah, so I don't know. I know sometimes for me that those dead grass mats, they heat up on, the water is a little cold. Sometimes they hold a little bit of heat and you can catch them around. So yeah, maybe who knows? Hey, it worked. First place.
Yeah, it worked.
Kind of going back to that, I was looking at the standings, and you two pretty much ran away with it. Was anybody else fishing in that area other than you two that you know of?
Yeah. I mean, I fished near Eric Simeon. He came around me, and then we ended up by each other later in the day. And then I think we saw MP. We saw MP too, Silas, and a couple other people. So.
Yeah, I think there was like a dozen or so people that launched down there with us, and they were all we were all in the same general area.
Yeah, I noticed on it seemed like it was really top heavy as far as the standings. You got you two, which pretty much dominated. Third place came in at 83, and then it really went into a cliff dive after the 8th spot, where pretty much everybody was like 1-2 fish, or I mean, I think like half the field got skunked. What do you think? What is the reason you think you guys were able to be so successful and more than half the field struggles so much with that. Was just basically you guys having so much knowledge about the lake, or is there other factors involved, do you think?
I'll give my take on it, but I think that probably I think that everybody was probably fishing a little bit too slow. Thinking, okay, well, it's cold. They're going to be lethargic. And I mean, most of my bites came from that reaction, so I was really trying to move fast, and I really wasn't getting a lot on slow moving baits. Like even whenever I was throwing that Cinco, I mean, I had 2 bites on it and I threw it quite a bit. Luckily, one of my big fish came on it, but it really wasn't the deal. It was more about the chatterbait and working it fast.
What's your thoughts on it, Tim?
It was yeah, yeah, it was a weird day, to be honest with you. I mean, I'll be straight with you. Fairfield does not normally fish like that. If you look at the results from around the time last year in that combined tournament we had, I mean, there was a lot of us up there. High 80s and the 90s. There's quite a few people. The freeze may have had something to do with it, but I feel like maybe they were hungry. And so it's like Silas said, they just, if you put it in front of their face and kept it going, it was just that reaction bite. They were being real aggressive on there.
Cool.
Dan, you had another question?
No, I'm still taking in the frog thing. I like that. I'm going to go out and throw a frog right now.
I love it.
I'm going to Gunners this weekend. I'm putting a frog. I'm putting my frog back in the bag.
That's all you need, baby. Just some frogs.
Yeah. I'm bringing it.
You guys kind of touched on it already, but what adjustments did you make during the tournament, and what made you think you had to make adjustments? Tim, let's start with you.
Well, not having a bite in the first hour kind of stunk. That told me a little bit. I was man, that threw me through a loop with the kind of day it was. But when I had those chatterbait bites, I thought I might run with it. And then I met Silas, and I don't like to fish over people doing the same thing because I feel like you just don't get as many bites. And I think it was just kind of dumb luck. I could see them popping fish out in the middle, so I knew eventually they would turn on, and just happened to be there at the right time, throwing a frog of all things. So,
and what about you, Silas?
So I definitely made the wrong choice, but but I made a choice off of I guess over my last couple tournaments, I just seemed to be I was in the spot of maybe leading in the morning. You can never tell by the standings, but at least I was doing real good in the morning, caught a limit early, and I would just kind of stay in that same general area, just doing the same thing, and I would never get a bigger bite. So for me, whenever I got that limit, I had 3 20s and 2 16s. I'm like, you know what? There's 18s and 20s all over this lake. I'm just going to leave this area and just try to do it somewhere else, to find another 20. And it ended up being just a complete waste of my day. So much so that I left, and then in the last, 45 minutes or so, I make it back to that area. As soon as I get close, I get a bite,
Hey, but it took you went and did it, and you left fish to go try to upgrade. I mean, that takes, what I want to say. That's that's difficult to do, man.
Yeah,
takes guts.
Yeah. You went to win. You didn't sit back and just, I'm gonna get a check. I'm going to win this thing. I'm gonna go try to find a big bite. That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Do you feel now in hindsight? Do you feel that was a good move that otherwise you wouldn't gotten second place, or do you see it glass half empty, where it's like if we would have stayed there, I would have gotten in first place?
Yeah, I mean, it obviously it could have gone either way, really. Even if I stayed in that area, fished right over the top of Tim. I mean, it was probably really just Tim's day. And, in hindsight, yeah, I probably wouldn't have moved again. It's really not in my nature to leave a productive area either. I mean, I believe that fish recycle. So, as long as you can kind of move from that area, but maybe not go too far, and you come back in maybe several hours, or, an hour, maybe hour and a half, maybe you can catch another fish in that same spot.
You kind of touched on it a little bit, but having the dynamic of having Tim fish that same area, did that factor into your decision?
Oh Lord, somebody's house.
Tim is about to get crushed.
No, they're putting my tankless water heater in. I flew up during the food.
I'm sorry, what was the question again?
Got distracted with the crashing sound. No, the dynamic of having Tim fish at the same area, and I know it doesn't bother you because you guys are buddies and you were okay, kind of like fishing, but you kind of touched on it. You didn't want to fish where Tim was fishing or casting over Tim. So was that the big factor to decide I want to leave this area, or was it just the reasons why you decided to?
I mean, it really didn't have anything to do with Tim. I mean, I don't know. Maybe if I'd have seen him catch a few, maybe I would have stayed around. I don't know. It was more just the fact that, like I said, about the recent tournaments and on how they played out whenever I didn't move. So I was like, all right, well, let me just try something different to see if I can get a different result. That's basically all it was. I mean, in hindsight, I could have just stayed back there in that general area and probably found some fish, but I just decided to just haul butt to not the other end of the lake, but a good distance away.
Cool.
It's tough. I mean, it's always tough. You want to say you shouldn't have done it, but who knows, man, what could have happened. Could have went out there and caught the fish of your life. You never know.
Yeah. I will tell you a lion fishing story if you want to hear it real quick.
Heck yeah, man.
Dude. Yeah.
That's what our podcasts are about. Yes.
Okay, cool. So, I leave and then I come back and I told you I catch that fish. Well, it's like not on a point. It's like I guess just a little deviation in the grass. And I pitch out there. Sure enough, this fish bites my jackhammer after I rip it out of the grass. And man, this fish is like fighting hard, pulling drag. And I'm like, this is the fish. This is the fish that's going to win me the tournament, And I swear it comes to the surface. And I don't know if it was just pure adrenaline rush or whatever. Everybody lies about, oh, that fish I caught was a 20, and they lose it. But it to me looked like for sure a 20-inch fish at least. Well, I'm fighting it a little bit longer and it gets stuck in the grass. And all of a sudden I feel this, this tap on my line. It really thumped it pretty hard. Well, the fight loses all enthusiasm after that. Like, seriously, there was no fight left. And I just reeled this fish in and I swear it was just a 16.5-inch fish. And yeah, I have no idea what happened. Maybe the bait got stolen by the smaller fish, but that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
That's a cool story.
On him? Was he like had a branch stuck on his mouth? I don't know.
Yeah, whenever I saw him, it didn't have any grass on him. Yeah. It was, just a fish, but it was seriously pulling drag, and hardly any of the fish that day were fighting that hard. I don't know if maybe I got him back in the gill or something, so he was just fighting super hard. But
it happened to Drew Gregory on it, where he had the little. Maybe it happened in reverse. Drew had the little one that come off, and then he caught the big fish at a tournament. Maybe yours was in reverse. You had the big one come off, and then
yeah, who knows? Come to find out, it wouldn't have done me any good.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, I think Tim would have still won. I'd have still been like maybe 1 inch behind him or so.
So Tim, how do you feel about your result? You got what was it 99 inches on that lake?
Yeah.
Were you surprised at that
Yeah.
result?
Surprised? Yeah. Was I happy? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Man,
Not gonna ask the obvious, but
oh man, it's the best feeling in the world to come around the corner and say, "How much you got, Silas?" And buy-
Appreciate that, buddy.
You're welcome. You'll be your hotspot. But yeah, no, it's man, I'm super happy with that. Last year we had a good tournament out there, and it took over 100, I think, to win it. So I knew it was going to take a lot. And I mean, I only had 95 and 3/4, I think, until that last 20 that I caught, and it just bumped me up a little bit higher. But it was a good day, and I can't complain when you get to frog all day. That's my favorite thing to do.
what was your biggest fish? Your big bass?
20 and a half, I think.
What about you, Silas?
21.
Oh, 20. So who ended up getting the big bass of the day?
I think it was Eric Cantu.
Hurricane too. Oh yeah. I saw that on the live show when they were announcing the winners. Yeah, what is it? 23 inches, I think. Something like that.
Yeah, I think
saw
so.
that. Let me ask you something, Silas. I noticed on that tournament, and I haven't seen it in any of the other tournaments. And granted, I don't have the most experience on tournament fishing, but one thing that I like about that, and again, I don't know how many tournaments do it, but if not enough are doing it, I hope they do that. That about the first limit gets you a prize. What was it, like $250, something like
Yeah,
that?
$250.
Wow, that's cool. I've never heard anybody doing that.
Yeah, me neither. I thought that's genius.
Yeah, that's the coolest thing ever. I mean, I definitely like it. I mean, it keeps people from sandbagging too. I mean,
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And you won that, right? You got
Yep.
the biggest limit, right?
Yep. Yes, sir. Yeah, I even submitted like a 12-inch fish, just so I could have that 5 fish limit so I could win. But
That is a cool idea, and I hope more tournaments do that. As a tournament angler, I don't like people sandbagging. Now I understand, like Tim, you may not have signal. You need a buddy that has a hotspot to help you out. But I mean, people that sandbag on purpose, which I don't get it, because I always think like, what if I drop the phone after I caught 5 fish on the water, or I ran out of battery, or something happens that. And I'm wondering how many people that sandbag have gone through that. There's like, oh crap, I dropped the phone and now I can't upload the pictures. So I'm not a fan of it. I don't understand why anybody would do it. I don't really think it gives you an advantage competitively, but hey,
The only time I ever sandbagged was in the KBBT. And that was because you're going one-on-one, and like I was fishing.
Oh yeah.
Like Doug
Wilson.
Huh?
Doug Wilson from Florida?
Yeah. I'm fishing against Doug Wilson in Florida. He's going to catch 100+ inches. I don't need to give him any more motivation to beat me. So it's like I just sandbagged, a little bit, because and I think I only caught like 85 that day, or like 89. I didn't need to give him any more. So I just kind of took it a little bit easy uploading the pictures. Yeah, but I got lucky. He didn't have a great day. Like the one day of the year that he didn't put up over 100 inches, and it happened to be that day. I lucked out. The next KBBT, he won it all. But that was the one day of that first series that he lost. And then I ended up getting beat by Conrad, and he put me in a dank meme and cut off my head like I feel the worst meme in the world. I'm not putting him down. He did a great job. That's no,
Well, what I like,
down his Photoshop skills.
I'm like Tim. I'm Conrad's, devil's advocate. Like I like how he spiced it up, but I do have to admit, when he loses with dignity. And I think did he lose against you, Silas? And he gave you a lot of credit. Like I liked how he talked about you, carrying the torch, and he talked a lot of trash going against it, because I heard him talking about Silas had never ran into an angler like myself and all that. And I'm like, man, he thinks it's great, but he might win just because he's in Florida, and he's also a great angler. But I like the fact when you beat him, he did give you props. Did you ever had a problem with all the trash talking that he did?
Yeah, I think Conrad fills a great spot. There's also another guy here in Texas, Clifton Allen. But man, these guys, like, they talk a lot of smack talk, which I think it's like good for the sport.
Yeah.
It creates like some kind of bond, like, as long as you're not taking it too far.
Yeah.
But yeah, talking to Conrad like the day of the tournament, the day before, like we really messaged a lot back and forth, and I mean, he's genuinely a good guy. I think just on on the internet and on Facebook, he tries to be confident, and yeah, we need a little bit of that in the sport. So, but yeah, he's a great guy. I mean, I actually really enjoyed beating him though. After all this.
Oh yeah.
Too. So,
especially when he's fishing in Florida.
I have zero problem with trash talking as long as it's like in light.
As long as
not,
to me, as long as you don't attack somebody's character.
Yeah.
You can make fun of their fishing, blah blah blah, but don't attack somebody's character.
Yeah.
That's where you draw the line.
Yep, for sure.
Tim, so what's next for you? Talk to me a little bit about your goals, your next tournament, and other than winning everything, because that's what we're in for. But what are you looking forward continuing with this season? What are you looking to fish?
And that new hot water heater.
Yeah, man. Seriously, man. I had hot water for a minute. It's been terrible. So I'm actually headed to Oklahoma tomorrow. Gonna go with both the guys for Texas. Yeah, to go fish the Hobie Broken Bow.
Nice.
But this year I kind of set a goal to try and just do well with the Nationals. I don't have any grand plans of taking over the scene or anything like that, man. Some of those people that are amazing fishermen, it takes a lot of effort to beat them. And, I just set modest goals every year, just a little bit more. Winning a tournament was one of them this year. I finally got that. I just really want to have a good showing on the national scene as well this year. But Broken Bow's next. Crystal clear water. No freaking clue what I'm doing. So that ought to be fun.
Ever fished Broken Bow before?
I would have liked that. That would have been my jam. I wish somebody would have told me.
Oh, man. I don't know what's going on. It's crystal clear. You see a mile away down the water. So.
What about you, Silas? What's next for you? What's your next tournament, and what are your plans for this year? So how the tournament scene goes?
Yeah. So the next tournament is the Bass tournament on Lake Fork. Not this weekend, but next. So yeah, that's my focus right now. Hopefully, I'm going to get out there this weekend and scout some areas. Just look for something kind of off the beaten path a little bit. As far as this year's goals, kind of I feel like I've been really close to winning some tournaments, and yeah, that's my goal is to win one. But my goal is to actually be like Angler of the Year of just one of our local trails, and definitely doing everything that I can to do that. Doing all the research, maybe getting out on the lake couple weeks early just to kind of scout the area. I don't, it's hard to fish off of history, especially on a tournament day.
Yeah.
But just taking everything in and using all that to come up with a good tournament strategy. And if that doesn't work, have a plan B kind of lined up.
What local trails are you fishing that are you targeting the Angler of the Year? Just in North Texas or any others?
Yeah, so the trail that I'll fish every event at is the Southeast Texas Kayak Bass League. That's the one I'm really shooting for the Angler of the Year in. I'm also fishing the TKC Tournament Kayak Championships.
Big money.
I'm kind of fishing all of them, to be honest. I mean, I think I have like 20 tournaments on my schedule this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that I get it. There's so many tournaments, and actually KBF is going to be here in April as well. So there's going to be overlapping. There's going to be some tournaments going to be stacked one on top of the other. But for me, being from North Texas, it kind of sucks that two of the tournaments for TKC and North Texas are in the same day. This one that just passed, and then the next one at Joe Pool Lake. Are you going to go to Joe Pool Lake, or are you planning to go to Hubbard Creek on TKC?
Yeah, I plan on going to Hubbard Creek.
Yeah.
Kind of my only reasoning for, I mean, I love the North Texas Kayak Championships Trail. Like, Duke puts on a good show.
Yeah, he does.
But,
Happy birthday, Duke, by the way.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, happy birthday, Duke.
There you go, Duke.
But, yeah, I mean, a tournament with TKC on Palestine where I've only fished there like maybe twice, or a tournament on one of my favorite lakes. Yeah, I'm probably gonna fish my favorite lake just to see if I have a chance at getting in the money, and we actually did. So
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So what did you decided what draw you into? Well, probably because you already are more familiar with Fairfield. Is that why you decided to go Fairfield instead of Palestine?
absolutely, yeah. I mean, 100% just that. I was just way more familiar with the lake.
And Tim, what about you? What local trails are you angling for this year?
Pretty much exactly the same as Silas. I mean, we lived 45
You need that
minutes to an hour
hotspot.
from each other. Yeah. I really want to fish Joe Pool, but I gotta count my numbers, so I'm gonna fish Hubbard Creek too. And I'm gonna try and do 3 trails. I got Southeast Texas. I'll fish all of those, and I think I'll be able to make 3 of the North Texas, and then at least 3 of the TKCs. So
Nice. Awesome. Dan, you had another question?
No, that's it.
Cool.
Well,
gentlemen.
congratulations on the first
Congratulations.
place, guys.
Well, thank you.
Next week we're gonna have actually Clayton. Clayton, I forgot how to spell your last name. Not pronounce your last name, but Clayton. Let's just say Clayton, because I don't want to square it. Clayton won the TKC. He was actually gonna join us today, but he's on his anniversary dinner, so.
Ooh.
So he got a nice check from the TKC. So I'm thinking he changed his reservation from IHOP to Del Frisco. No, but congratulations to Clayton. He'll be here next week to talk about his big win at the TKC. But before we let you guys go, we're gonna give you a few minutes to talk about your sponsors. Anybody you want to thank? Tim, you want to start?
X Zone. Let's hear about X Zone.
Yeah, first and foremost, the big man upstairs. It's fishing is a very random sport, so I couldn't do it without the big man upstairs and a loving, supporting wife who doesn't make me stay home all the time. So those are my 2 biggest sponsors, and then definitely Exxon Lures, like Dan was talking about. They make phenomenal baits. I use so many of their baits, and the rest of my sponsors: Rod Glove, Finn's Fishing, best braid on the market. Leviathan rods, Breakline Fishing. It's a great company for apparel. You should look them up. Gator Guards, just these companies that work with us, especially in the kayak world. We're not boats. We don't have these big fancy boats, and so they go out of their way to help us out and let us chase our dreams. So
There you go.
Silas?
It's kind of hard to go after that, but like Tim said, it's great to have a loving and supporting wife, that kind of gets the deal and allows us to get out here and fish and do something that we're actually passionate about. I mean, what's the point of living if you can't do what you love? That's kind of how I feel about it. As far as sponsors, definitely want to thank Breakline Fishing, I Surrender Eyewear. I got 2 rod sponsors, but it's Kistler Rods and Exotic Rods. And of course, Volta Lithium, they're absolutely best lithium battery on the market, a little bit biased, but they are the best. But yeah, that's all I got.
Nothing wrong with showing preference to your sponsors, right?
Yeah.
Silas, are you kind of hurt that Tim didn't thank you for using your hotspot, or you think that would be rubbing salt into the
That
wound?
mic should have been number 1.
Yeah, that should have been number 1, right? Maybe he thought, well, I'm rubbing salt into the wound, so let me not mention it.
God, and then
Yeah, solid. Yeah, I will say after the tournament, I don't know if he felt bad or what, but he bought me like 2 margaritas, enchilada plate at the Mexican food restaurant, so we did it up. He paid for everything, so
he's paid.
that's cool. Yeah.
Would he be using your hotspot in the next tournament? That's the biggest
No.
question.
No.
No, that's it.
That's
He's gonna
it.
have
One
well,
and
he has the
done.
money to pay for his home hotspot
Yep.
now.
Yeah. Pay for better phone service. That's what it is.
That's gonna be your next sponsor. Get like some other company, AT&T, Verizon. I don't know which one you're using, but
What's up, Verizon? Yeah.
well, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Dan, thank you so much for helping me out with the live show. So Bubby will do it again next week with Clayton. And I forgot his last name. It's kind of embarrassing, but again, thank you guys. It's been an honor to have you on the show. Congratulations, both of you. Tim, you first place. Garrett, your second place. And looking forward to what you guys do, both in the Bassmasters, Hobie BOS, any local trails. Best of luck to you guys out there. And thank you for joining us.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And for those out there listening, thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, wear your PFDs on the water. Take good care of yourselves. Call your loved ones to let them know where you're going to be so you can avoid any disasters you can make it home to your loved ones. Thank you again for listening to the Bass, Kayak, and Beers show. We appreciate it. Have a great night. Tight lines, y'all.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in to another killer episode on Paddle and Fin. Don't forget to go check out our website at paddle_and_fin.com. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel at Paddle and Fin. If you got a question, comment, want to hear from a future guest on a future episode, feel free to email us at paddle_and_fin@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Paddle and Fin on Facebook and Instagram. Shout out to our show supporters, Angler. The Angler button and app just makes for a better time on the water and creates a virtual logbook for every fishing outing out on the water. Shout out to Rocktown Adventures, located in northern Illinois, for all your kayaking, camping, and hiking needs. Shout out to Jig Masters Jigs. When in doubt, get the jig out. Go to jigmasters.com